Welcome to Rock DIY or Do It You. If you do it, then it's all you. Not that it has any relevance, but for informational purposes, I am using a Vivitar VPT 120 tripod, and the clip I am making for my mount is for an iPhone 11 that has a protective case. The binder clip being used opens to a 1/2 inch. So keep that in mind if you decide to make one, especially if you have a huge case on your phone. This project can be easily done in less than 5 minutes. I don't have a tripod or a mount for my iPhone, so I'm going to use these items to make a mount for my iPhone so that I can put it on my tripod. Got some flux here, some solder, a rubber band, 2 large clips, a nut, and some sandpaper, and then the propane. This nut right here fits on top of this mount that goes on my tripod. The idea, since this nut fits on this mount, is to get this nut attached to the bottom of this clip. So I'm going to use the flux and solder to try to get that nut mounted onto the bottom of that clip. In order to get the solder to stick to the bottom of this clip, I got to remove all the paint. Just to sand all of the paint off the bottom of the clip. So I used a coarse sandpaper, that way the solder could have something to grab onto. Before attempting to put the solder on, I'm going to have to put the flux in the center of this clip in order to get the solder to stick to the clip. I only need the flux to cover the area that I plan on soldering, but I spread it out a little bit wide just to make sure I get good adhesion. I use this driver to spool the solder around it so that when I put the solder onto the clip, it'll be about the same circumference as the nut that I'm putting on. Thought about using a smaller spool, but I think if I make it smaller, the solder itself will creep up into the threads of the nut, and then I won't be able to mount it. I'm using these needle nose vice grips to hold the clip straight up and down so that I can place the solder onto the center of the clip. And then I'm going to place the nut on top of it. May have made the solder spool a little too big. There you go. Now I have to ensure that I heat this evenly all the way around. As anticipated, the solder did get on the threads, which made it difficult to get the bolt into the nut. So in retrospect, I would probably use less solder if I were to do this again. After I worked this bolt back and forth inside the nut, it helped clean up the threads. The length of the bolt that's mounted here on my mount is pretty long, so when I do put this nut on top of it and screw it down, there's some remaining space. Probably have to put a washer or a rubber gasket in there to keep it from moving about. You can see that it does mount onto my tripod mount. The only issue is that if you're going to put your cell phone on it to use the tripod, you will not be able to open this while it's on the mount and then put your phone on. So you have to put your phone into the clip before you mount it to the mount for the tripod. I had seen this before where people would put rubber bands on their clips in order to protect whatever they're using the clip for. It's actually worked pretty good. I'm surprised. But basically you just center the rubber band in between the teeth and then pull the ends over the top of the back of the clip. I can't put my cell phone into the clip because I'm using my cell phone to record, but you can see this is how the clip would look when it's mounted on the base for the tripod. And I also added 2 1/4-inch washers on the underside of it, and you can see that it's pretty stable now on the base. Now I have my cell phone attached to the clip. In order to put it on this mount, the wings have to be spread, and then you can mount it onto the mount that goes on the tripod. And then there you go, you can adjust it how you want it before putting it on the tripod. For my specific tripod, basically place this mount into the slot on the top. Then after you have it set there, you just move this thumb screw over. As such, a little difficult to do with one hand. But once you get it in there, you just push the thumb screw back, and then you can adjust the cell phone on the tripod, or make your adjustments on the tripod to put the cell phone where you want it to point. Thanks for watching my video. I truly appreciate it. Hopefully the video was useful in your plans for a future DIY project. Please like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks again.